There's a particular kind of silence that hurts more than words ever could. It's not the absence of noise, but the absence of connection, the feeling that someone who once held your heart has quietly let go without saying a word. You're left holding fragments of a relationship that now feels like it's slipping through your fingers, and worse, you don't even know why. If you're here, I want you to know something. It's okay to feel lost, angry, or even numb. Emotional neglect has a way of making you question everything, your worth, your actions, and even your reality. But let me share something life-changing that the Stoics understood deeply. It's not the storm outside that defines us, but the calm we cultivate within. You see, when someone stops caring, it's easy to think the problem is you. But the truth? Their actions are their choice. Their neglect is a reflection of their struggles, not your value. This might feel impossible to believe right now, but take a breath and stay with me. Because healing doesn't come from their apologies or explanations. It comes from something far more powerful, you reclaiming your inner strength. Imagine this moment as a blank page. You can choose to fill it with resentment or to write a new story, one where you learn to care for yourself in ways no one else can. This isn't about pushing away the pain or pretending you don't care. It's about learning to sit with your emotions, honor them, and grow stronger from them. In the words of Marcus Aurelius, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Today is the first step. Let's start rewriting what happens next. Accept the pain without letting it define you. Emotional neglect feels like a wound that no one else can see. It doesn't bleed, but it aches. The person you once shared your thoughts, dreams, and vulnerabilities with has pulled away, and it's tempting to let that pain define you. But here's the truth. While the pain is real, it doesn't have to consume you. The first step toward healing is learning to accept what you feel without letting it dictate who you are. Imagine pain as a storm passing through your life. The Stoics taught us to view emotions this way, not as enemies, but as temporary visitors. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The pain of neglect is an outside event. You can't control that someone else has chosen to withdraw their care, but you can control how you respond. This doesn't mean suppressing your feelings or pretending you're okay. Quite the opposite. It means allowing yourself to feel hurt, disappointed, even heartbroken, without losing sight of the person you are beneath that pain. Start by acknowledging your emotions without judgment. When you feel sadness creeping in, say to yourself, "This is sadness. It's here because I care deeply, and that's okay." When anger or confusion rises, name them too. By identifying what you feel, you create distance between the emotion and your identity. You're not the sadness or the anger, you're the person experiencing them. This subtle shift gives you room to breathe, to observe, and to take back control. It's also vital to recognize that emotional neglect is not a reflection of your worth. People pull away for their own reasons: fear, stress, immaturity, or issues you may never fully understand. Their actions say more about their capacity to connect than they do about your value. This is a hard truth to accept, but it's also liberating. It means you don't have to carry the weight of their choices. You are enough as you are, regardless of how someone else chooses to show up in your life. A powerful way to embrace this lesson is through self-compassion. Think of how you'd comfort a friend who feels abandoned. You wouldn't tell them to toughen up or dismiss their feelings. You'd listen, offer kind words, and remind them of their worth. Now, turn that kindness inward. Talk to yourself like you would that friend. It might feel strange at first, but over time, these gentle reminders will help rebuild the foundation of your self-esteem. Accepting pain doesn't mean giving up or resigning yourself to suffering. It means honoring your feelings while recognizing that they are just one part of your story. As the Stoics believed, pain is inevitable, but how we meet it is our choice. Choose to meet it with courage, self-compassion, and a quiet belief in your ability to heal. The storm will pass, and you will remain. 2. Focus on rebuilding your inner world. When emotional neglect leaves a void in your heart, the temptation is often to fill it by chasing after the person who caused it. You long for their attention, explanations, or even just a moment of acknowledgement, but as hard as it is to accept, their validation isn't where your healing lies. Stoic philosophy reminds us that true peace doesn't come from fixing the outside world, but from strengthening the inner one. This lesson is about shifting your focus inward, to rebuild, restore, and nurture the self you may have neglected in the process of loving someone else. Think of your inner world as a garden. Over time, emotional neglect might have left it untended. Vibrant plants withered from lack of care, weeds of self-doubt overtaking the space, and the soil of your self-worth dry and cracked. Rebuilding isn't instant. It's a gradual, loving process. But with attention and effort, your inner world can become lush and thriving again. Start with a simple question. What do I need right now? It's a powerful question because it shifts the focus from what others have failed to give you to what you can give yourself. Maybe you need rest, a break from the endless overthinking. Maybe you need laughter, the kind that comes from reconnecting with an old friend or watching your favorite show. Or maybe you need creativity to pour your emotions into writing, painting, or music. The answers will vary, but the act of asking allows you to become your own caregiver. The Stoics emphasized the importance of self-reliance, not as a denial of human connection, but as a reminder of our own agency. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This doesn't mean closing yourself off to others, but understanding that your happiness and worth are not dependent on their actions. When someone stops showing up for you, it's not the end of your story. It's a call to show up for yourself in ways they never could. By focusing on rebuilding within, you're not just healing. You're creating a version of yourself that is whole, resilient, and beautifully self-sustaining. And that, the Stoics would say, is the truest form of freedom. 3. Embrace solitude as a path to clarity. When emotional neglect leaves you feeling isolated, solitude can seem like the enemy, a stark reminder of the emptiness someone's absence has created. But what if solitude isn't the void you fear, but a doorway to something deeper? The Stoics believed that solitude was not a punishment, but a gift, a chance to reconnect with yourself and see life with clearer eyes. This lesson is about reframing solitude from something to dread into a tool for growth and healing. At first, being alone with your thoughts might feel unbearable. You might replay memories of what went wrong, question why they stopped caring, or even criticize yourself for not being enough. These moments of self-doubt are normal, but they don't have to define your time alone. Instead of running from these thoughts, try to sit with them gently. Picture your mind like a cluttered room. Solitude gives you the time to sort through the mess, not to dwell on it, but to decide what's worth keeping and what needs to be let go. The Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote, "Each day we should be calling ourselves to account." Solitude provides the space to reflect without distraction. What truly matters to you? What have you neglected in your own life while waiting for someone else to care? Use this time to reconnect with parts of yourself that may have been overshadowed by the relationship, your interests, your values, your dreams. Journaling can be a powerful way to do this. Write without judgment about how you're feeling, what you want, and what steps you might take to move forward. Over time, these reflections become a roadmap back to yourself. But solitude isn't just about introspection, it's also about rediscovery. When was the last time you did something just for you? Cooked your favorite meal, took a long walk without a destination, or indulged in a hobby you used to love? These small acts of joy are ways of reminding yourself that your life is still full of meaning and richness, even without their presence. In embracing solitude, you'll find clarity, not just about the relationship, but about yourself. You'll begin to see that you are whole, even when someone else steps away. Solitude is not the absence of connection, it's the beginning of the most important connection of all, the one you have with yourself. And from that connection comes strength, peace, and the courage to move forward. 4. Reclaim your emotional energy. Emotional neglect has a way of draining you, like water slowly leaking from a jar. You pour your energy into someone who no longer reciprocates, leaving you feeling depleted, exhausted, and unsure of where to turn. Healing begins when you recognize this pattern and take steps to reclaim your emotional energy, not by forcing someone else to care, but by choosing to redirect that care toward yourself. This lesson is about learning how to stop the leak, refill your jar, and protect your emotional resources. The Stoics often spoke of the importance of guarding our inner peace. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When someone withdraws their care, it's easy to respond by giving even more, overthinking, overanalyzing, or trying to earn back their affection. But here's the truth. No amount of chasing or explaining will change someone's choice to neglect you. What you can change is how much of your emotional energy you allow this situation to consume. Start by recognizing the places where your energy is leaking. Are you spending hours replaying conversations, wondering where it went wrong? Are you constantly checking your phone, hoping for a message that never comes? These actions might feel small, but over time they sap your strength. Instead of resisting or judging yourself for these habits, gently interrupt them. The next time you catch yourself spiraling into overthinking, take a deep breath and ask, "Is this helping me heal?" If the answer is no, consciously choose to redirect your focus. A powerful way to reclaim your energy is to create rituals that nurture you. Emotional neglect often leaves you feeling invisible, but self-care is a way of saying, "I see you. You matter." Start small. Prepare a meal you love, take a walk in nature, or spend a few minutes each day in quiet meditation. These acts may seem insignificant, but they're reminders that you deserve the care you've been waiting for from others. Over time, they help rebuild your sense of self-worth. Another key part of reclaiming your energy is setting boundaries, not just with the person who neglected you, but with your own mind. When you find yourself obsessing over their actions or seeking closure, remind yourself that closure isn't something they can give you. It's something you create for yourself. The Stoics believed in focusing on what's within your control, and the truth is, you can't control their choices. But you can choose to protect your energy by refusing to dwell on things that no longer serve you. Reclaiming your energy also means redirecting it towards something meaningful. What have you been putting off because of this emotional strain? A project, a goal, a dream. Channel your energy into these pursuits, not as a way to distract yourself, but as a way to reinvest in your own life. When you focus on what excites and fulfills you, you begin to realize that your happiness isn't dependent on someone else's care. It's something you can cultivate for yourself. Finally, give yourself grace. Reclaiming your energy isn't about cutting off your emotions or pretending you're unaffected. It's about recognizing where your energy is going and making intentional choices to redirect it. You're allowed to feel hurt, but you're also allowed to prioritize your well-being. By taking back your emotional energy, you're not just healing, you're reclaiming your power. You're saying, "This is my life, and I choose to care for myself." And that is an act of strength, resilience, and love. 5. Redefine your worth on your terms. When someone you care about stops showing up for you emotionally, it can feel like a direct statement about your value. You start questioning yourself. Was I not enough? Did I fail? Am I unlovable? Emotional neglect has a way of shaking the foundation of your self-worth, leaving you tethered to someone else's choices. But here's the transformative truth. Your worth isn't tied to their behavior. It's defined by how you see yourself. This lesson is about reclaiming that definition and anchoring it in something unshakable. You. The Stoics taught us to look inward for strength. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." How often do we let the way others treat us dictate how we feel about ourselves? Their neglect can feel like a rejection of who we are, but the reality is far more complex. People's actions are a reflection of their inner struggles, not a measure of your value. Once you understand this, you can begin to untangle their neglect from your identity. Redefining your worth starts with letting go of the need for external validation. This doesn't mean you stop valuing relationships or feedback. It means you stop relying on them to feel whole. Take a moment to reflect. What qualities do I admire in myself? What makes me proud to be me? It might feel difficult at first, especially if neglect has eroded your confidence, but even small answers matter. Maybe it's your kindness, your sense of humor, or your resilience. Write these down. Each time self-doubt creeps in, revisit this list. These are your truths, and they don't disappear because someone else failed to see them. Another step in redefining your worth is to treat yourself as someone worthy of care. How often do we treat others with patience and compassion while being harsh with ourselves? Imagine your best friend was going through what you're experiencing. What would you say to them? Likely you'd remind them of their strengths, their beauty, and their importance. Now, say those words to yourself. The more you practice self-compassion, the more you'll internalize the belief that you are enough, just as you are. Redefining your worth is an act of liberation. It's choosing to see yourself not through the eyes of someone who neglected you, but through your own. It's realizing that your value isn't something they bestow upon you. It's something you own. You are worthy simply because you exist. Let that truth guide you, and you'll begin to build a sense of self that no one can take away. Release the need for closure. One of the most difficult parts of emotional neglect is the unanswered question, why? Why did they stop caring? Why did things change? Why wasn't I enough? The need for closure can feel overwhelming, as if understanding their reasons will magically heal the pain. But what if the closure you're seeking isn't something they can give you? What if the answers you crave aren't as important as the peace you can create for yourself? This lesson is about learning to let go of the need for closure and finding freedom in its absence. Closure, at its core, is a desire for control. When someone withdraws their care, it leaves a gap in your life, a space where certainty used to live. You replay moments, search for clues, and try to make sense of their actions, hoping that understanding will bring relief. But here's the hard truth. Even if they gave you every explanation, it likely wouldn't feel satisfying. Their reasons wouldn't erase the hurt or undo the neglect. And sometimes, those reasons might never come. This is where the wisdom of the Stoics becomes invaluable. Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. In other words, it's not the lack of answers that's holding you back. It's the energy you're pouring into needing those answers. The more you chase closure from someone else, the more power you give them over your healing. But when you decide to release that need, you reclaim your freedom. Letting go of closure begins with acceptance. Accept that their actions are theirs to own, not yours to solve. People act from their own fears, insecurities and limitations, things you may never fully understand. Their neglect says more about them than it does about you. This realization doesn't mean the pain disappears, but it allows you to stop tying your healing to their explanations. Next, focus on creating your own sense of closure. Closure doesn't have to come from them. It can come from you. Write a letter you'll never send. Pour out all your feelings, your confusion, your anger, and your sadness. Say everything you wish you could say to them, and then let it go. Burn the letter, shred it, or simply tuck it away. This ritual isn't for them, it's for you. It's a way of acknowledging your emotions while deciding they no longer need to control you. Releasing the need for closure doesn't mean forgetting or ignoring what happened. It means accepting that you can heal without their involvement. It's choosing to close the chapter, not because they explained it, but because you decided it's time to move forward. And in that choice lies your greatest power. 7. Forgive. Not for them, but for yourself. Forgiveness often feels like the last thing you want to offer someone who has emotionally neglected you. After all, their withdrawal, silence, or indifference caused pain they may never even acknowledge. Forgiving them can feel like letting them off the hook, as if you're excusing what they did. But forgiveness isn't about them. It's about freeing yourself from the grip of resentment and reclaiming your peace. This lesson is about redefining forgiveness as an act of self-care and learning to release the burden of anger for your own healing. When someone stops caring, it can feel deeply personal. Their neglect might have left you questioning your worth or replaying every moment, searching for what went wrong. Anger and resentment often rise as shields, protecting you from the vulnerability of hurt. But over time, these emotions become heavy. They don't just sit with you, they live in you, taking up space in your thoughts, your energy, and your ability to move forward. The Stoics understood this weight well. Seneca said, "Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it." Forgiving doesn't mean forgetting or pretending the pain didn't happen. It doesn't mean inviting that person back into your life or allowing them to hurt you again. Forgiveness is about choosing to stop carrying the emotional baggage of their actions. Imagine holding a burning coal in your hand. It's not hurting the person who abandoned you, it's only burning you. Forgiveness is the act of putting that coal down. Start with this mindset shift. Forgiveness is for you. It's a way of saying, I deserve to be free of this pain, even if they never apologize or change. Recognizing that their behavior is about their struggles, not your value, can make this process easier. Emotional neglect often stems from a person's inability to connect, their own fears, or their unhealed wounds. That doesn't excuse their actions, but it helps you see that their neglect isn't a reflection of who you are. If forgiveness feels too big right now, break it down into smaller steps. Begin by acknowledging your pain without judgment. Let yourself feel the hurt, anger, or betrayal fully. These emotions are valid, and honoring them is part of letting them go. Then, consider writing a forgiveness letter, not for them, but for yourself. In this letter, express your feelings, the impact of their neglect, and your decision to release the anger you've been holding on to. You don't have to send this letter. It's a private act of emotional release. Forgiveness doesn't erase what happened, but it loosens its grip on your heart. It's not about them. It's about giving yourself permission to move forward. And in doing so, you reclaim the power they took from you, one choice at a time. 8. Reconnect with what brings you joy. When emotional neglect takes hold in a relationship, it's easy to lose sight of the things that once brought you happiness. You spend so much time trying to understand their behavior or make things work that your own passions and pleasures take a back seat. But healing begins when you decide to recenter yourself, and one of the most powerful ways to do that is by reconnecting with joy. This lesson is about rediscovering the simple, beautiful things that make life worth living and letting them light your way forward. Joy is one of the most underrated forms of self-care. It's not just about fleeting moments of fun, it's about nurturing the parts of you that have been overshadowed by pain. When someone withdraws their care, it's natural to feel like the color has drained from your world. The Stoics, however, teach us that joy isn't found in others, but cultivated within ourselves. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. This isn't about denying your hurt, but remembering that joy can coexist with healing. Start by asking yourself, what used to bring me joy before this relationship? Maybe it was a hobby you loved, a place that brought you peace, or a small daily ritual that made you smile. These activities might have faded into the background, but they're still there, waiting for you to reclaim them. If you can't remember what those things were, that's okay too. Treat this as an opportunity to explore. Try new activities, painting, hiking, cooking, or dancing. Even the smallest spark of enjoyment can reignite your sense of vitality. It's also helpful to shift your mindset around joy. When you're hurting, happiness can feel out of reach, almost like a betrayal of your pain. But allowing yourself to feel joy doesn't mean dismissing your emotions or forgetting what happened. It means reminding yourself that you are more than your hurt. The Stoics believed in finding contentment even amidst struggle. Seneca said, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." Joy is found in the little moments you allow yourself to cherish. As you reconnect with joy, be intentional about the spaces and people you surround yourself with. Spend time with those who uplift and inspire you, not those who drain your energy. Seek out environments that fill you with wonder, a forest trail, a bustling cafe, or even a cozy corner in your home. These spaces can act as reminders that the world is still full of beauty and possibility, no matter what someone else's neglect has made you feel. Reconnecting with what brings you joy doesn't erase the pain of neglect, but it reminds you that there's so much more to you than the hurt you've endured. In finding joy, you reclaim not just your happiness, but your sense of self, a gift no one else can take away. 9. Strengthen your relationship with yourself. When someone you care about stops showing up for you emotionally, it can feel like a piece of your world has collapsed. You might find yourself looking outward, hoping for someone or something to fill the emptiness their neglect left behind. But the real healing begins when you turn inward and strengthen the most important relationship you'll ever have, the one with yourself. This lesson is about rebuilding that connection, learning to trust and care for yourself as deeply as you've longed for others to do. Emotional neglect often creates a gap between who you are and who you believe you should be. You might feel like you weren't enough for them, leading to self-doubt and even self-rejection. The Stoics, however, remind us that we are complete as we are, and our worth doesn't depend on anyone else's perception. Epictetus said, "Know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." The process of reconnecting with yourself starts by stripping away the stories you've told yourself about being unworthy and seeing yourself for who you truly are. Begin by listening to yourself. What do you need? What do you feel? These might seem like simple questions, but they can be surprisingly hard to answer when you've spent so much time focusing on someone else's needs. Start small. Pay attention to what makes you happy, what drains you, and what you've been avoiding. This awareness is the foundation of self-connection. It's about showing yourself the same curiosity and attention you might give to a close friend. Strengthening your relationship with yourself also means rebuilding trust. When you've been emotionally neglected, it's easy to internalize the idea that you're not worthy of care, even from yourself. But you can prove otherwise through consistent, small acts of kindness toward yourself. Honor your needs, whether that means saying no to something that doesn't serve you or taking time for rest and reflection. These actions reinforce the message, "I am here for me." The Stoics emphasize the importance of aligning your actions with your values. Reflect on what matters most to you, not what you think should matter, but what truly resonates in your heart. Maybe it's honesty, creativity, kindness, or growth. Use these values as a guide for how you treat yourself. If you value kindness, ask yourself, am I being kind to myself right now? If growth is important, consider, what small step can I take today to move closer to my goals? Living in alignment with your values strengthens your sense of self and helps you rebuild confidence. The stronger your relationship with yourself becomes, the less dependent you'll feel on others to validate or fulfill you. You'll realize that the love and support you've been searching for have been within you all along. And with that realization comes a profound sense of freedom, freedom to live, to grow, and to thrive on your own terms. 10. Find strength in impermanence. When someone stops caring, the world can feel unsteady, as if the foundation you stood on has crumbled beneath you. Their emotional neglect might leave you grasping for certainty, for a way to make things feel permanent and safe again. But what if strength doesn't come from permanence, but from learning to navigate life's inevitable changes? This lesson is about finding resilience through the Stoic understanding of impermanence, embracing life's ebb and flow rather than fearing it. Change is one of life's only constants. Relationships evolve, people grow apart, and feelings shift, often without warning. It's a hard truth to accept, especially when you're hurting, but the Stoics understood that resisting change only deepens our suffering. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Observe how transient and trivial all mortal things are. Yesterday a blob of semen, tomorrow ashes or bones." While this may sound harsh, it's not meant to dismiss your pain. It's a reminder of life's fleeting nature and the power of embracing it. When someone neglects you emotionally, it's natural to focus on what was lost. You replay the good moments, hold on to memories, and wish for things to return to how they used to be. But clinging to the past can trap you in a cycle of longing, keeping you from moving forward. Finding strength in impermanence means honoring what once was, while accepting that it has changed. It's not about erasing the past, but recognizing that life is a series of moments, each one shaping you in unique ways. A practical way to embrace impermanence is through mindfulness. Focus on the present moment, not the pain of the past or the uncertainty of the future, but what is here and now. Take a deep breath, feel the ground beneath your feet, and remind yourself, this moment is all I truly have. When you live in the present, you stop trying to hold on to what's slipping away and start appreciating what remains. The Stoics also taught us to find strength in the temporary by focusing on what's within our control. You cannot force someone to care or change their behavior, but you can control how you respond to their neglect. Epictetus said, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens." This philosophy frees you from the exhausting task of trying to fix what's beyond your influence. Instead, it encourages you to invest your energy in what you can shape, your thoughts, actions, and personal growth. Another way to find strength in impermanence is to shift your perspective on endings. Every ending is also a beginning. When someone's care fades, it creates space in your life, space to rediscover yourself, pursue new opportunities, and build relationships that uplift you. This isn't about rushing to fill the void, but about recognizing that the end of one chapter allows another to begin. Finally, let impermanence inspire you to cherish the moments you do have. The Stoics believed that understanding life's transience made us more grateful, not less. When you accept that nothing lasts forever, you begin to appreciate the beauty in everything, even the fleeting. A sunrise, a kind word, a smile. These small joys become precious when you understand their impermanence. Finding strength in impermanence doesn't mean you won't feel pain or loss. It means you learn to navigate those feelings with grace, knowing they too will pass. By embracing life's ever-changing nature, you discover a resilience within yourself that no one can take away. A strength rooted not in holding on, but in learning to let go. Your next chapter starts here. You've made it this far, which says so much about you. Healing from emotional neglect isn't easy, but it's proof of your strength, your resilience, and your capacity to grow. Every lesson we've shared is a step, not a sprint, but a steady, intentional walk toward reclaiming your peace and power. Now, let me ask you something. What's your next step? Maybe it's taking one of these lessons and weaving it into your daily life. Maybe it's sharing your story with someone who needs to hear it, or maybe it's something as simple as writing, "I deserve to heal" on a piece of paper and keeping it where you can see it. Whatever it is, remember that you're not alone in this journey. Speaking of journeys, this isn't the end of ours. In fact, it's just the beginning. The path to emotional strength, inner peace, and personal growth is full of twists, turns, and powerful revelations, and we'll explore them together. If this resonates with you, hit that subscribe button so you never miss the next step. Let's make this space a haven for people like us, those who strive to rise even when life knocks us down. Also, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these lessons spoke to your heart the most? Was there one that felt like it was written just for you? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective might be the spark someone else needs today. Let's turn this into a conversation, a shared journey of resilience and hope. Oh, and don't forget to like this post if it gave you a moment of clarity or strength. A simple click can help this message reach someone out there who's still searching for their first step toward healing. Imagine being the reason they find it. Here's the truth. You've already started your healing journey simply by being here. Let's keep moving forward together. See you in the next chapter.